Welcome to another episode of the Small Biz Pulse. I have Tom Archino here. How are you, Tom?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing well, thanks. Um, and you are the owner and operator of Thomas David Salon, correct?
That is correct.
All right. And did you open back up this week?
Yep, we opened on Friday. The state allowed us to, open up salons. Fortunately, I own a salon that's pretty small. We only have three operators, so I think the rule was no more than two operators, no more than one client per operator. So the two other people that work with me, their schedules kind of vary. So we've been able to kind of adjust it so that there's just two of us.
That's great. Can
Yeah,
you tell me a little bit about the history of your salon?
sure. So, well, I'll give you just a bit of history on the whole thing, actually. So
Okay.
I started doing hair probably 14 years ago. I was in the golf course industry and had done that for a while and just kind of got burned out and decided I want to make a change and decided I want to go into hairdressing or cutting or whatever. So went to hair school and, I got a job at Bad Hair Day and was there for, I think, a couple of years, and then went to another salon, Bling, and then had done that long enough. And, I'd worked with people like a Drexel or a TJ or a Jess, who were great in the business, and I learned a lot from them. And I felt like it was time for me to venture out on my own. So I opened up the Thomas David Salon in September. It'll be 10 years. So I think it was 2010, I guess it would be. And yeah, and just opened the salon and tried to kind of mimic what I had been around for those prior years, which was kind of a bigger salon, front desk, assistants, several hairdressers. And over the years, I've changed my philosophy on that. And now today, the hair salon is a booth rental salon. So, which means that I provide chairs and places for shampooing and that kind of stuff. And then I rent the chair to a licensed hairdresser and they pay, it's broken down by the week, but really they just pay by the month.
Gotcha.
And we started off as like a full service salon, massage, all that stuff. And today we're just hair.
What made you transition to that business plan?
It's a tough business. There's times where you're not doing much, and coming from those kind of salons, you have to sit around, and it can be pretty boring, and sometimes it can create a little bit of a negative atmosphere if someone's not busy or if someone else is busy, and they start saying, there's favoritism and who's working harder. It's just it can be insane. So um, I had a girl that was working for me, and she decided to move on, and it just left me. And I thought, well, I'm tired of trying to be responsible for building up people's books. I'm tired of being responsible. Um, you know, if they were unhappy, it was making me unhappy. So I decided to do chair rental, and this allows me to work with people that have to pay for the chair. So they have, so to speak, a little skin in the game. So it's their responsibility. It's not mine. My responsibility is to provide a great place to work, a great atmosphere, which I do. And I've gotten a couple people that like doing that. And, I've always said that if you can do chair rental, it's probably this, the step before, you might open your own salon. I mean, you're really running your own salon. I'm just taking the responsibility of the lease and the the electric and all that stuff. But it's managing clients, staying for clients. It's really putting yourself out there, and I just like that. I like to work with people that are into that, that like to have some drive.
So you own your own small business, and then kind of each one of those individuals that rent the chairs from you are their own bosses. So they're the
Yep,
driving force behind their own success.
yep, and they get a key, and um, I mean, they're their own boss as long as they're following my rules. And honestly, I really don't have many rules. Just treat their salon with respect. Um, they can really work whenever they want. Um, so yeah, they're their own boss.
So tell me if we can go back to March, when did things really start to change for you roughly, and what steps did you take to kind of abide by the rules and regulations that the state and government had put forth?
So I think my last day working was maybe that Friday. Was that the 15th? Whatever that Friday was, March 15th, 14th, something around there. Of course, we'd all been hearing. Um, I remember initially in the very beginning when I heard of it, I was like, it's just a flu. Gosh, really? And then it started to get a little more serious and a little more serious. And then, they announced that, the list of essential and non-essential businesses. And I, went over the list, and initially, um, hair salons, it was kind of weird. It was a little bit of a gray area because it didn't say hair salons non-essential. It said actually health and beauty care essential. So I was like, well, I'm not sure what that means, but I'm kind of feeling like that says we can be open. But I had talked to a good friend of mine, Carlos, who's been on your podcast,
Yep.
and he said this is our last day. We're closing down because he was considered. I'm not even sure if it was really. I think it was a little gray for him, but I know that at the time there was a feeling like we either have to do this or we're never going to get back to a somewhat of a normal thing. So I chose to close the salon. And that was real easy. I just closed it. I put a statement on our Facebook page and I said, listen, I don't know if we're allowed to be open or closed, but just because I have a lot of friends that are in small business, I think it's best for us to just go ahead and close down and to try to support this so that we can all, get back open as soon as we can. And that was that.
And how did the individuals who rent out a chair in your location take that information from you?
Um, Listen, I think at the time we were all, we all knew what was coming, and I think we were all on board. You know, at the time, the vibe in the air was like, if you're going to try to be open, you're going to have a lot of shaming on you because, how dare you be open and while we're all closed, and so, and I knew it was the right thing to do. We knew it was the right thing to do. If you want to be specific, I actually called them and I said, I think we're going to go ahead and close down. And they agreed, and they thought it was because at the time, and still, it's still scary. And, we wanted to be more of a part of the solution than we wanted to be part of the problem. And I thought that at the time we were going to stay open. We're going to be part of the problem. And really, I'm not sure anybody really wanted to come in and get their hair done anyway.
Yeah,
So it was just a conversation we had, and we all agreed.
it's definitely tough times for everybody. So I think it's good that people are rallying together and not getting too upset. But I don't think anybody's having a good time through all this. So
I actually had a pretty good time. It was, I've always said 51 is the wrong time to tell me that I can't work. I literally had to get back to work. I was starting to, grow roots. It was pretty bad.
So you mentioned you opened up this past Friday. What kind of changes have you implemented for yourself and the others working in your salon that are a little bit different than, say, the beginning of March, February?
Well, some things haven't changed. We've always, hairdressing has always been really about sanitation. You can teach, when I went to hair school, it was always about sanitation, safety, taking care of the customer, taking care of, yourself. We've always practiced that, keeping our instruments clean, cleaning, towels, keeping capes clean, cleaning our area between clients. That never really changed. I guess, obviously, the main change that we've had to do is wear a mask. We had to put up signage, which basically says you're not allowed to enter the salon without a mask. We had to create a questionnaire, which basically allows the client to fill it out. Simple questions. Some of them, one client said, I think it says, have you been to China? No offense to China, but that's a pretty basic question. Someone says, well, I don't think anybody's been to China lately. Yes or no? Have you had a fever? Do you know anybody? Just, questions that are pretty easy to answer. Yes or no. Have you had a fever? We are not taking temperature. I don't have a thermometer, but we're asking people, have you checked your temperature? And we're having them sign it. Someone said that that frees me. I don't know if that was required in the rules to reopen, that a questionnaire had to be given, but we have chosen to do it. So we just have everybody sign that. And then we have to keep the door locked. We didn't used to keep the door locked. But I've always been, one of the things about working in a big salon, and it's really no one's fault. It's just kind of how it runs, is that, you'll take a client, and then while they're processing, you'll bring in another client. You really stack them up. Um, Assistants are needed when that kind of thing is going on. I didn't want to have any assistants, so I've always, since I've had this salon, I've always just taken one client at a time. Now I'll squeeze in a men's haircut or something if it's really important, but I try to do that anyway. So that really didn't change. They require now 15 minutes between each client, which is fine. I started, and it's there. One of the struggles for this opening is that, I have a small salon, but a lot of my friends, a Drexel or the guys over at Stephen and Company or the people over at Bling, they run a big salon, and I knew that it was going to be a challenge for them to kind of get back open, just due to the fact of how many hairdressers and assistants and front desk and all that. So one of my worries is that I was going to start hearing from other salon clients that, that tends to happen sometimes. You're loyal until you need something, and then sometimes they're not as loyal. So I was worried about that, and luckily we haven't had too much of that. But in the beginning, I thought it would just be, I was just going to take a couple of clients a day just to try to maintain. But the fact is, I feel like the ball's kind of rolling. I feel like we're opening. Life's coming back, and the phone's been going crazy. So this week, I was only trying to work until 2. I was just going to do a couple colors a day, but I've had to adjust that a little bit because, people want to get their hair done. They've been waiting for a while. So what I thought would be one thing has kind of evolved into a little bit of something else, but not too bad. But next week, we're back up and running, or I am, I should say. I'm taking appointments throughout the whole day now.
Where do you see, how sustainable is the current workflow for you if this is going to be for the rest of the year, how you have to operate?
Fine. I
Good.
mean, my grandfather used to say 2 businesses that'll always survive is hair salons and funeral parlors. He's a little bit right. I mean,
Yeah.
when this all started, or I should say I, had a lot of fear. Maybe maybe this is that time where they're going to say, yeah, this is where I'm going to stop coloring, or, a lot of doubt creeps in. But the phone's been blowing up, and we do. I do a nice job. I wouldn't say I'm the best hairdresser in this town, but I definitely do a nice job. And the clients are coming back, and you're also dealing with people that are still a little afraid, and I have to respect that. So I've not been reaching out to clients. I'm allowing people that are interested in getting their hair done to reach out to me. That way, if that's what they want to do, I'm available. But we're still dealing with that. But people are going to need to get their hair done.
Absolutely. I've been talking to different business owners over the past few weeks, and a lot of them are able to take some advantage of new technology to kind of pivot during these times and still run their business in a slightly different way. Jeff Pete is one of the owners of CrossFit Unlocked. They've been doing some online workout programs. Pat Woods is the owner of the factory. They've been doing some online workout programs. Is there any type of technology that you've found over the past 8 weeks that's helped you manage a bit better?
No.
Not a lot going on in the salon tech industry.
Can't cut hair over Zoom. I mean,
No.
and I mean, if we're not, I mean, so I have 3 kids. There's this whole thing it's multifaceted, right? I mean, clearly we can't work, but school's closed down. I have 3 kids that are in school, 2 in elementary, 1 in high school. Trying to figure out their education. I won't criticize um, what we've had to do, but it's not been that great. Um, and that's just because none of us are familiar with this. So we're all kind of learning at the same time. And, like my older son goes to Sussex Academy. They had a pretty good program set up pretty quickly that allows the kids to learn and do some online schooling. But the little ones have been tough. So it's about managing that. I'm also, as a father, you just don't want your kids to just turn into blobs, right?
Yeah,
So trying to figure out how to be active with them and still maintain social distancing and still obey by the rules. But so it's hit on a lot of different things for us. So as far as when they said I couldn't be open, not much I can do. I couldn't be open, and I can't cut online. I'm not cutting in the street. I'm not, because I also don't want to end up looking, foolish.
absolutely.
And I get that, I love the online stuff. We've been watching a lot of great music online. A lot of musicians have been playing a lot of stuff online, a lot of yoga, I get it. But as far as like, unless I was going to start teaching people how to cut their own hair, which I'm not going to do.
Yeah,
And listen, if I could just say, if you're waiting for your hairdresser to open, just give them a little time because they need you.
yeah,
Um, especially some of these bigger ones. I mean, Drexel, I owe everything I have to Drexel. I mean, Drexel gave me a great opportunity when I very first started, and he runs a fantastic salon down in Rehoboth. He's just a big guy, and not physically. I'm just saying it's a big salon,
yeah,
and give him a chance. There was when this all opened up, there was some people were a little critical, saying that you know, they weren't prepared. But Drexel, he figured out how to, he got a couple of hairdressers in there and started working. It wasn't about what we can't do; it was more about what we can do, and that's what I've always loved about Drexel. And my heart goes out to all those guys. Stephen and company, fantastic group over there. So I went to school with some of those girls, and of course Bling. And so just be patient. Let them get their stuff together, and then they'll get you back because they're going to need their clientele back. And we're just fortunate that I just have a little salon.
yeah.
But don't give up on your stylist.
Well said.